This week we're going to be discussing behavior of investigators and more specifically some of the conflicts of interest that can arise between investigators and how their relationship with sponsors, with study subjects, and even with employees in their own site uh, can change during the course of a trial or over the course of time. So we're going to be talking a little more specifically about financial disclosure that investigators are required to provide before they start on a clinical trial. And this financial disclosure centers around any ownership or stock ownership or positions that they may have in a sponsor company or medical device company. They're required to reveal that if it's above a certain amount, and we'll get into that in a little bit more detail as we go along. That does not mean that they cannot participate in the trial necessarily. It just means that they have to report that prior to their participation. So we'll learn a little bit more about that. It is important to understand that the financial disclosure requirements are an FDA only requirement. ICH does not have a similar requirement. However, most of the trials that are conducted, certainly here in the United States and around the world for that matter, are conducted under the jurisdiction of an investigational new drug application, which would be the US FDA. So even though a site may be in Europe or in some other country outside the United States, those investigators would be required to participate in that, reveal any financial positions that they may have in a sponsor company. So I think that the readings and the assignment that you'll do this week, you'll find it to be interesting, and I think that you'll get a lot out of it. If you have questions as you go along, certainly post them on the discussion forum, and I'll be happy to address those. Our learning objectives for the week: we're going to define and understand the ethical issues related to investigator behavior. Some of the articles that you're going to read are going to discuss that. And then we're also going to discuss the elements of financial disclosure requirements. So I'm going to post a PDF of the 21 CFR 54, Part 54, which discusses financial disclosure. It's only 6 pages. I'll also put the link on there so you can go look it up online if you like, or if you just want to read the PDF document. However you want to do it is fine. All the information is the same, but we'll be going over that this week. Your readings for the week are going to include a couple of articles that I think are beneficial in discussing these conflicts. The first one's going to be Ethical Imperialism, that's written by Marcia Angel. She's a past editor of New England Journal of Medicine and is a frequent author on ethical issues related to clinical trials. So I think you'll find her article to be fairly interesting. We're also going to be discussing the behavior of clinical investigators. This article is going to discuss some of the history behind conflicts of interest and some of the possible remedies that can limit that or mitigate that. We're also going to be understanding financial conflicts of interest, and this author is going to be discussing what those are and how we might limit those. The next article is going to be on finder's fees for research subjects. So that's going to be one of the items that you're going to have in your discussion board this week. So take a look at that. You'll find that to be very interesting. And then the final reading will be the actual regulation, which is 21 CFR Part 54, Financial Disclosure. I've posted it up there. I want you to read through that and be familiar with it, understand kind of where those thresholds are as far as what's reportable and what is not reportable in terms of what the investigator is required to do. And then finally, for your discussion board assignment for this week, you're actually going to have a choice. So I put 2 questions up there. You only have to respond to one. So you can either choose the article that discusses the finder's fees for research subjects and tell us why you think that's a good idea or not a good idea and explain your answer in that. Or you can choose the financial disclosure document, and FDA requires investigators to reveal any financial connection they may have with the sponsor of a clinical trial that they participate in. So do you think that's a good practice, or is it not a good practice? And explain what your answer is. It is important to understand that is an FDA only requirement. It's not a requirement for ICH. So that may influence your answer just a little bit. So anyway, try to get your posting up there by Thursday of this week, and then I would like for you to respond to at least 2 of your classmates for the remainder of the week. So everyone's going to have a good week. If there are questions that you have, ask them on the discussion board in the section for questions for the instructor. That way everyone can see those and everyone can see the answers. So have a good week, and I'll see you on the discussion board.